Everyone on Earth dies right now except you. What do? Story 1. Find some solar panels and batteries, head over to a Costco, and set them up and figure out how to rig the freezers up. I believe you have about a week or two before all power stations shut down with no human inputs. After that, start stockpiling fuel and medicine. Once that's done, just relax and read all day. Hope you don't get eliminated by packs of dogs. Answer. I had more or less similar thoughts, but ended up questioning, what for? If you are absolutely the last person on Earth, let's take near-Earth orbit in there as well, then what giveth to continue with life? Wouldn't loneliness and the outlook on increasing hardships with age render any possible future grim? I'm not condoning tragic end either, but it's unlikely I'd make it far with farming at this latitude. Likely no internet access within days, power grid, servers, and lack of agricultural experience. Even if I make it to a better climate zone, where do I get fertilizer from? Realistically, most of us ain't no Mark Watney, and he had NASA to talk to. Story 2. Before I die an inevitable passing due to lack of medical treatment, I just go snooping through everyone's homes and start collecting random stuff that I like the look of. Story 3. I wouldn't immediately know I was the only one. I'd probably go looking, naked, obviously, but still, I'd be looking for survivors. Story 4. Check Reddit, post something about Silksong being overrated, and get away with it cause everyone's dead. Answer. Get downvoted and flamed into the ground by bots. Argue with them. DM'd by another survivor who agrees with you. Your sanity already on a precipice. You fall in love. It's an AI. Pretty much. Another Thursday, alternate ending. She's finally made preparations to travel from the DRC to meet you. She just needs those pictures of the Amazon gift cards first. Story 5. Gather up supplies that can last a long time. Canned goods, things like that. Take over a secluded estate. Hook up a massive solar array so I have unlimited free power. Learn how to grow food. Have a pack of cool dogs as my sidekicks. Store as many EVs as I can. I know gas doesn't stay usable forever. Learn how to sail so I can travel the world. Teach the dogs also how to sail so I have some help. Thankfully, my go-to drink is bourbon so I would never run out. Get an orangutan as a sidekick as well. Need someone to drink bourbon with. Hope said orangutan is not a mean tipsy. Edit makes more sense to teach the orangutan to sail than the dogs. Story 6. Enjoy the peace quiet. Make it my mission to release all the animals locked in houses, shelters, zoos, as many as possible, before I die too. Can't take care of them all, so they'll have to work it out after that. Edit to add. Since this is a hypothetical, the hypothetical me can accomplish this without being eaten by the animals first. Answer. I had to look it up due to a previous comment. If every human vanished and you had to check every house on Earth for pets, just homes, not the other types, there are about 2.4 billion homes worldwide. Even if you could somehow manage 80 homes per day, which is already insane, think breaking in, searching rooms, and moving between rural houses, that's 2,400,000,000 30 million days, or 82,000 years. Even doing 1,000 homes per day, basically impossible, would still take 6,500 years. Story 7. Go to the hospital and figure out how to administer my last 2 doses of chemo myself. What a fun day that would be. At least I wouldn't have to worry about what I look like anymore. Story 8. Honestly, I'm in Brussels, so would hop in a car and drive to Amsterdam. I'd sit on one of the boats, grab as much plant substance as I could carry, snacks, and sit by the river. I'm sure the depression from losing my loved ones would kick in from there. Story 9. Honestly, if you have ever been hospitalized for a long period, or incarcerated, I guess, you know how achingly lonely things can get without a single person to interact with. I am a very capable person. I can build things, grow things, fix things, but I would be filthy, frustrated, and hungry within days in addition to that isolation. I'd probably last less than 2 weeks before deciding to end it. Story 10. Go to all the houses in my neighborhood and let their pets free so they don't die of thirst. Let their horses out of their barn. Go to the pet store and get bags and bags of kibble. Open them and spread them around so the free pets have at least some food. Break down the fence around the goat herd. They'll be okay. The beef cows will probably do okay too, but the dairy cows probably won't be. Then I'd read and drink coffee. Probably watch to see how the animal kingdom is shaking out. Then die. Story 11. Are you all truly serious? I feel that if everyone around me were to perish, I would lose all reason for existence. I believe we are an inherently social species, and to witness a scenario like that would be utterly devastating. Frankly, I believe I would take my own life. Answer: same. I'd be okay for a little bit because I'm trying to figure out how to survive. And I'd like to go move into rich people's houses for a few days. But losing my kids, I'm not sure I would be functioning well enough to survive a month. My husband recently died, and I'm barely making it as it is. If I lost everyone, IDK, man. I'd probably go insane and start talking to people who aren't there. Story 12. Take the car. Go to Mum's. Eliminate Phil. Sorry. Grab Liz. Go to the Winchester. Have a nice cold pint and wait for all of this to blow over. How's that for a slice of fried gold? Story 13. In no particular order, set up a solar power battery farm to power my home. Find and claim a source of fresh water. Set up water filtration. Track down all the propane tanks nearby for cooking fuel. Clear out all the bodies near my home. Dig mass gravesite. Clear out all the fresh food in the markets nearby. Then clear all the canned food I can find. Storage available in the freshly cleared houses near my home. See about moving a tanker truck or two of gasoline near my home in a cleared parking lot. Find long guns and short guns to deal with inevitable feral dog packs, which will eventually start roaming around, plus other wild animal encounters. Story 14. I'd bury my loved ones and start making my way to every zoo and shelter I can reach and let all the animals out. Once that's done, I'd end my life. Let nature take it back and hope the next round of dominant species does better. Story 15. The problem with this is you'd never know it's only you, so you'd become obsessed with finding others and dedicate your life to it and probably die trying or die from sheer despair of never finding anyone. Story 16. Round up my cats, drive to the coast and find a very nice large boat. Load up on fuel and food for a trip to a smallish Caribbean island. Find a nice holiday home there and settle in. Smaller islands wouldn't have many dead people. There would be fish to catch and plenty of boats to use. Most islands have freshwater cisterns that catch rain. Lots of tropical fruits. I'd live out my days in a beautiful location, fishing and enjoying the company of my cats and caring for other animals left behind. Story 17. Clear all the bodies out of the nearest Costco. Loot every dwelling looking for narcotics. Post up in Costco for a while. Hope the bodies around the country have deteriorated enough that there's little to no smell when it's time to move on to the next Costco. Maybe rescue a handful of pets along the way, so I'm not completely alone for at least a few years. Story 18. Move to the apartment I want to move to that they're holding up my application for over a minor inconvenience. Story 19. Head to Area 51 and see if there's a way to contact aliens and tell them I need some friends to hang out with. Answer: Alien 1. Hello, why are you calling on this frequency? You. Hi, I'm Necessary Salamander. I'm the last human in the world, I think. I'm very lonely. I'm wondering if aliens are real or am I speaking to a human somewhere else? Who are you? Alien 1. One momento, por favor. Turns to Alien 2 and covers the radio receiver with his tentacle. Tell Admiral Glorp that we missed one. Story 20. Story 21. Drive home, get my dog, head up to Costco and start shuttling non-perishables to a nice big house with a well. I'd set up solar power, then probably just hang out and be depressed. Edit below. I'd have to go start picking up all my family's pets. I wouldn't be able to leave them alone to die. Another edit below. My entire existence would be opening every single door to every single house as fast as I can to free animals from a lonely, trapped starvation. Story 22. Go to car dealership, get me a heavy-duty truck, then Whataburger and make me a big fat burger. Go to library and find as many survival and off-grid books as possible to help my jerk. Story 23. Bury the corpses of my family in the backyard. Drive to a computer store and take all the external hard drives and computers. Download as much stuff from the internet as possible to the external hard drives before the internet starts to fail. Get a bunch of gas cans and fill them up. Load all the computers and hard drives in gas cans and whatever else I want to bring into van I have taken. Drive to San Diego. I'm picking San Diego because the weather is mostly mild year-round. Pick a rich person's home and move in. Remove corpses first. While the gas is still good, gather as much goods as I can and stockpile in the houses surrounding the house I have selected. Get generators to run until the gas runs out. Set up solar panels for after the generators run out. Now relax. Watch movies. Read books. Go on walks. Story 24. First, panic. Second, raid Costco. Third, spend 3 weeks talking to mannequins before realizing I don't even like people that much anyway. Story 25. Go to the closest liquor store and get the most expensive bottle of whiskey that I would never have been able to afford and start drinking. Story 26. Go to a pharmacy and find some good shooter. Then after I turn all my animals loose with tons of food outside for them to live on. Story 27. Figure out where to get a Geiger counter, because when nuclear plant eventually explodes from lack of maintenance, you probably don't want to be there. Story 28. Wow, there's so many people here who would just end it. LOL, anyone else from Home Lab here? I'd be fine for food and water for a long time from the various supermarkets, and there would be enough fuel until it totally expires. Even if you needed to run generators constantly after the power went out, that would probably be fine. So I guess I would try to preserve as much information from the internet as I could and set that up locally. Things like downloading everything from Wikipedia, probably local LLMs, and raid the local electronics store for all the computing power I would need. Maybe set up camp in an office building or data center long term. I guess from there you'd have to learn some pretty critical stuff fast, like how you sustain your power long term. Learn how to fix those machines. Taking over a hydro plant or a solar farm would be cool, but how do you maintain it 30 years into the future? Transport would be crucial, so having workshops set up capable of being maintained by one person. Learning to fly. Crush some things with a monster truck if I could get my hands on one. There's all sorts of things you could do. I wouldn't be topping myself, ever. Get a dog. Edit. Shoot. I'm a type 1 diabetic. That admittedly might be a bit of a challenge. Secure the pharmacy's power first. Story 29. Find the biggest mansion and live there. Take home all the animals in the shelters. Then, and only then, will I look for survivors. Story 30. Ask ChatGPT how long I have before infrastructure and the internet breaks down, and enjoy the silence. Story 31. Shut off the gas, grab a hand crank radio and a cart of water, move into a library next to a grocery store, adopt a dog from the shelter, and spend sunsets playing vinyl in empty theaters so the world doesn't feel silent. Story 32. Find a Walmart, clear out the dead people and all the fresh food. Provide generator power to the freezers. Freeze all the food I can. Live in the Walmart. Story 33. Yeah, unfortunately everything would stop working pretty soon after though, so the fun would be short-lived. The internet, electricity, city-run water, all of this would switch off and go dark within hours, days, and weeks without continued maintenance. Certain places would probably explode without regular maintenance as well and cause fires. Sanitation would get bad. All the fresh food and dairy in stores would rot within 1 to 2 weeks, and you're left with dry goods and canned foods for the rest of your life. Story 34. Day 1. Get some Wagyu before it goes bad. Day 2. Break into every place that sells stable, then fill all the gas cans and treat it so that it lasts as long as possible. Story 35. Cry and become completely despondent due to the passing of my wife and son. Then I just go and live a sad, shallow life in the ruins of society until I died of some disease or something. Story 36. Get very confused so the rapture was real, and I'm somehow the biggest jerk and the only one left behind. What did I do? Story 37. I would find a way to die as painlessly as possible. Like if everyone has disappeared, it'd go do fun things, then eventually get sad and bored. It'd create an army of leftover pets. Pets eventually eat me. Done. But if everyone was just dead, flopping down around me, first it'd be horrified, then it'd be terrified. Then when I didn't die like everyone else and the grief hit, it'd be so fudge angry. It'd go to the nearest hospital, get whatever ridiculously concentrated opioid they use now, walk back to wherever my kids were and dispatch myself ASAP. I feel like this would be a pretty good concept for a short horror film. Credit me. Haha, even if I didn't have kids and wanted to survive and explore, dead bodies would be everywhere. Smelly, disease-ridden, swelling, and filled with maggots, trying to step over and around them everywhere. Poisoning the water? No fudge, thank you. Same ending. Story 38. Walk to McDonald's and help myself to ice cream, then go to the grocery store and pick up a bunch of mince tarts, pumpkin pie, and stock up on whipped cream. Story 39. I'm in my room on my computer. It's quiet. I have no reason to leave the house today. Assuming the deaths are instant and spontaneous without any outside factors, I wonder how long it would even take for me to notice. There's a very real chance I'd head to work tomorrow morning and not realize anything is amiss until I got into town and saw cars crashed everywhere. Since I'd have no way of knowing for sure that everyone died, I'd probably try looking for anyone else like me for quite a while. It wouldn't be too hard to find food, and tap water should theoretically work nearly indefinitely for a single person. I assume the power grid would fail pretty quickly, though. I'd have to spend time finding a house with a real wood-burning fireplace. It's hard to say how long I'd keep going before I finally gave up hope and decided there was no reason to continue surviving. It would be lonely and boring. Months? Years? Never? Who knows? Story 40. Head to the substances store for everything I may ever need, like antibiotics, pain meds, iodine. Stock up on toothbrushes, sterile bandages, reading glasses, one of each strength, ISO adult beverage. Then to the grocery store for food, mostly canned and dry goods that will last for years. Seeds, salt, sugar, spices. I have a well and spring for fresh water, so don't need it. The 7-Eleven for some liquor, gasoline, motor oil, cigars for those long old nights sitting alone. Then to the hardware store for a spare Jenny, power saws, bullets, and other guns I don't already have and may need to survive to hunt food with, and more fishing gear, lamp oil, propane, survival boots and clothing, foot and hand-activated heating pads, deer and bird feed. Then last, the library for medical books, encyclopedias, and lots of good reading materials. Oh yeah, I'd probably grab a few mannequins if I see any going through town to feel like there still are somebody around to talk to. Mainly just keep me company and from going totally insane for the long, boring life ahead, all alone. LOL. Story 41. First, a wank to get post-nut clarity. Then I would prioritize clearing out the coolers and perishables from grocery stores before they go into biohazard mode. Story 42. Assuming I don't immediately die of a mental breakdown, find some gas masks because it's going to be stinky. Then clear the bodies out of one of the mansions I've always wanted to live in and make it my little Minecraft survival base. I'd collect as many medical supplies I could. No doctors to make me better if something were to happen. Decide what things will leave my ability to use once society collapses. Then find a notebook and figure out some personal goals I'd be free to achieve at will. Story 43. I answered this on Quora years ago. The answer is die pretty soon. 8 billion people die and they'll leave a mess behind. Crash cars, trucks, ships, planes, etc. will start fires that nobody puts out. Even if you could get to safety, the air and water would be toxic pretty soon. Even if you found a bunker, you couldn't operate it alone. Basically, you're toast as well. Story 44. Turn off the gas, fill every tub with water, grab a solar generator from a hardware store, then hit the library and an animal shelter. It's set up in a grocery-adjacent house, learn to garden, and spend nights playing music in empty museums so it doesn't feel so quiet. Story 45. Eliminate myself. My wife, kids, friends, and family are all gone. And society itself is gone, so I can't even fall into finding purpose. There is nothing left to live for. Story 46. Mourn the loss of my friends and certain family members. Then take a giant sigh of relief as the earth can finally start to heal from everything humans have done to it. Story 47. It'd probably be living in an introvert's paradise for a few moments before quickly realizing most of the things that keep me alive were run by people who are now dead, and I would die trying to grow food for myself, LOL. Story 48. Download the entire Wikipedia and all my photos from the cloud before internet shuts down. Find a house or building with solar panel and settle there, collecting canned foods and at the same time learn how to grow food myself. Story 49. Panic. Cry. Hopefully infrastructure still works. Gather maps of all grocery stores. Start Googling survival skills. Start Googling basic electrical knowledge. Gather food and water. Get storage for rainwater. Gather weapons for hunting and potentially later tragic end. Gather electric cars. Gather solar panels and batteries. Gather entertainment, DVDs, CDs, downloads. Try to survive. Story 50. Start writing a journal that aliens may find someday. Grab my crowbar and chainsaw and hit up as many animal shelters, zoos, farms as possible, freeing poor animals along the way for a few weeks until it's obvious the ones I didn't get to are dead. Then I break into a dispensary and get extremely stoned. I'm not going out sober, but I'm not going to last long alone. Story 51. Try to free all the animals from shelters, zoos, etc. that I could. I know it's probably not going to go much better for them than dying of thirst, but at least they have a chance then. After that, I'll just care for all the dogs and cats that I can. Probably hang out at a vet school or college and try to learn veterinary. Maybe try to find other people. Story 52. I'd help as many animals as I safely could. Get a few dogs and cats as companions. Probably start a little farm and garden. I'd try my best to survive. I'd figure out how to leave some type elements, resistant journal, or record of what happened. In case the Earth is visited by an alien race, or there happen to be other survivors younger than myself who could come across it. I definitely wouldn't end my life early on unless I became very ill and was suffering physically. Old age would eventually have its way with me. Depending on my condition, I'd then decide what to do. Story 53. Go check on my husband to confirm I'm really alone. Have a significant breakdown. Go home and check on my pets. Assuming they're still alive, start breaking into houses and freeing other people's pets and gathering supplies. I would have to keep trying for my pets, at least until I couldn't take it anymore. Story 54. Sit around wonder WTF for the next 10 or so days. I could make it longer, but I'm not up for that level self-examination. Story 55. I'm going to the Grand Canyon and Canadian Rockies, and I'm going to camp in some wild places and then die. Story 56. It depends on how I know I am the last person. Like, did the US get wiped out by nuclear war, but South Africa is okay? I'd never know with no communications to tell. I mean, it's also kind of academic. Once my communication is cut off, I might as well be alone. Then, what happened where I am assured that nobody exists in the next town over, etc. But overall, moot. I am on medication that needs refrigerated, so I'll be dead within a few weeks. Story 57. I mean, I have so few skills. I guess I could learn from YouTube, but like, if I wanted to travel the world, I'd have to learn how to fly a plane and or navigate by boat. And if I wanted to simply survive, I'd need to get used to cooking for myself. Sad. Story 58. Really depends who you are, TBH. I mean, there are still sperm banks, so you could get a good thing going. Story 59. Mourn the loss of my family. Find a nice, pretty place. Bury my family. Maybe contact the ISS with ham gear to see if there is anything I can do to help them get back to Earth before I give up from grief. Story 60. Bury everyone I know that lives nearby. Stockpile food and water, batteries, solar panels, and medication, and then board my doors up in case of animals. Then I'd freak out, have a wank, and wonder how far this calamity has reached. Story 61. I go and I pick my children up from school and bring them home. Bring my wolf home too. Quietly lay them in their beds with their favorite things, then take all my prescriptions at once and wait to see them again. Story 62. Is it just people or do all animals, etc. die off too? If just people, then I hope I follow suit soon, join them, or go find one of the big animals that will swiftly do the job for me. Story 63. Lament the fact that I won't be able to finish my D&D campaign after investing 35 sessions into it. Oh, and mourn my family. Yeah, should probably do that first. Story 64. I'd immediately start breaking into homes to release as many pets as possible before they all starve to passing. Story 65. Find a way to communicate with the astronauts that are currently on the ISS. Next to the fact that they are the only hope for the human species, it is also your only possible chance for human contact ever again. Now the next step is juggling with survival, how to cope with dead bodies and disease everywhere, and communicating with depressed astronauts. Story 66. I walk out of the safe I was hiding in. I find the library. I pile up books to last for months. Then my glasses break and I sit there unable to read and sobbing that it's not fair because there was time now. Story 67. I enjoy the crumbs of civilization that are left. And after I'm done with doing that, I just off myself. I don't see the point in living in a dead world. Story 68. If the internet is still functioning, download as much farming data as I can before it stops working. Also go to the library and pick up books on it. Find a nice house with a well where I can build a farm, and also go around to stores and load up a box truck with some nice furniture. In the free time I get, devote as much time as I can to gaming and printing out data and pictures via generators and solar panels, as after a year gas probably wouldn't be usable anymore, and eventually solar equipment would start failing too. Eventually my entertainment will only be books. Story 69. I would be devastated losing my family if I survived and managed to recover. I guess I just try my best to keep alive. I get solar panels and stuff so I'd have electricity. I go online and quickly download a bunch of useful things I'd need to know. Manuals, textbooks, medical papers. Story 70. I have thought about this, and I would definitely go through people's houses, drive their cars around like a maniac, do their substances and drink their booze. Straight up hedonistic, shoot, and when that gets boring, Probably off myself. Story 71. Will they disappear or just drop dead? Because if dropping where they are, there is going to be some rotting going on. Disease and rodents, oh my. I guess once you establish no life in the city, find the nicest house up high, move in, and start disposing of dead bodies. Story 72. Figure out the neighborhood dogs. How many can I realistically care for? How many am I going to have to put down so they don't starve to passing in backyards? Try to cover as large a radius as I can in a week to prevent as much suffering as possible. Story 73. So everyone's gone? Like totally gone? It'd probably freak out a bit, run around yelling hello, just in case someone's hiding behind a tree or something. After that, I think it'd hit the nearest grocery store, grab snacks, maybe ice cream. No one to judge me for eating straight from the tub, right? Then I'd probably find a cute car, something ridiculous like a bright yellow convertible, and just drive, music loud, wind in my face. Story 74. Get as far away from cities as possible. There are going to be horrible fires absolutely everywhere. I'd have to be careful about nuclear power plants, checking maps to make sure I'm not downwind of any of them when they melt down. I'd also have to avoid cities because of the miserable, overpowering corpse stench that would be surrounding every population center. Basically, drive into the hills gathering as many useful things as I can on the way, and make sure there are at least a few small towns nearby that I can raid for supplies. I'd find an out-of-the-way hilltop mansion or ski resort or something, and hunker down to plan my next move. Story 75. So everyone flying in planes lives. Everyone skydiving lives. Everyone who happened to take a fortuitously timed leap lives. Everyone floating in boats lives. Everyone swimming in the ocean. Lakes, rivers, ponds, streams, swimming pools, etc. lives, and the handful in space lives, because only the people on the Earth die. Sure, that's a bad deal for 99, but there will be hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions, who survive. It might take a few hundred years, but we'll bounce back. Story 76. Prepare? Like my electricity isn't going to last long. So I guess I need to get to some camping stores and get some gas. But my car will break eventually, and I don't know how to fix that, so get some bikes? Dog, I don't know. Be sad? Be excited? No, definitely sad. I like some people a lot. Story 77. NGL, it would take me several days to even notice, but when I did, I honestly wouldn't do anything until the internet stopped working, and then I'd go to the library. Story 78. Ugh. Gather food supplies and go someplace far, far away from civilization, because it's going to be absolutely foul for months. Story 79. Celebrate, mourn, panic. Celebrate because I really do think every other life on this earth is better off without us. Mourn because I do have people I care about and will miss. Plus, even if I think the earth is better off without us, I do think there are good humans around. Just overall as a species, we do not have a good effect. Panic because OMG, I have no idea how to survive without other humans, despite my misanthropic view on humanity. Story 80. Survive exploring each day as if it's creation. Like imagine walking into a shop fully stocked or an airplane with no pilot. Every day is training day in this scenario, so you're doing whatever the next moment brings. Story 81. Drive around going into everyone's house and taking their food and valuables. Also draining every single drop of gas from the gas stations so I can use it for later. Story 82. I'd probably sit on the front porch with a cup of coffee and plan the day with my dog, so not much different than most days. Story 83. Cry. I'm sick and dependent on care, so I would probably die a agonizing, slow passing. Too cowardly to take my own life. Story 84. Start going around to all of the zoos, farms, animal shelters, etc., to let all of the animals loose before they all starve to passing. I would lose sleep over this and probably get myself eliminated in the process. Story 85. I would adopt all of the cats and make a huge cat city. I would probably have to inject antihistamines or die of my allergies. Story 86. Read. And the best thing, the very best thing of all, is there's time now. There's all the time I need and all the time I want. Time. There's time enough at last. Story 87. Are all the animals still here with nobody to feed them? If so, I'll be pretty busy, but I'll be moving into a really nice house to care for them. Story 88. Speedrunning any guide about what to actually do if you're the last person on Earth before the electricity goes off for a really long time. Or roll a joint. Story 89. Eat all the seafood I can before it expires, because nobody is going to catch anymore, and getting bored for the rest of my life. Story 90. Figure out gas, food, electricity, and water early on. Thankfully, I live in a rural area with fancy houses. Mine isn't fancy. I'd probably move myself into one of those places and just hunt down food and gas. Then I'd curl up into a ball and cry. Maybe go horseback riding, chill with my dog, you know? Story 91. Slap on a mask and grab a fuckload of menthol nasal rub to handle the smell of billions of rotting bodies. Story 92. Don't think people realize how bad this would be. No power. Outside of light, what would Yoy even need it for? No water outside of bottled. All fresh food gone in days. All family and friends dead. 9 billion rotting corpses. You would have transport for a while, but petrol gasoline goes bad after a few years. Might run older vehicles for longer, I suppose. Most roads will be blocked. Yeah, you could use horses or bikes, but you come off. Any even vaguely serious injury is probably painfully fatal with zero support network. Roving packs of staving dogs. You wouldn't starve to passing, but it would not be an enjoyable existence. Just a fight to survive. But what for? So, I would probably make myself the last good sandwich ever, grab canned food and bottled water, and camp up somewhere semi-isolated with books to read by candlelight until I had enough, then probably end it in the least painful way I can manage. Story 93. The first thing I'd do is cry. Then I'd start heading south to where the winters are warm. Surviving a winter in northern states without the utilities would be nearly impossible. Story 94. Well, I imagine it would take me a minute to realize that everyone in the whole world was dead and not just local to me. So I'd probably get on TV, get on the internet, try to figure it out. Then I'd probably go for a drive to other cities to see if anyone else is around. At some point, I'd realize I'm totally alone. And in that case, there's really no point in staying alive. If I can't reproduce, then humankind is going to cease to exist. So there's no real point in living. I'd probably run around doing things that I've always wanted to do before I die. Find some I've wanted to drive, find some substances, maybe try to find a helicopter to fly. Once I get bored and have done pretty much whatever fun things I want to do, I'd probably eliminate myself. Story 95. Assumptions. The bodies are gone because that makes for interesting answers. I'm safe and don't also have to worry about dying. Short term. A combination of preparing and using limited resources. Power, and therefore internet, will be going down soon. Download the complete full-fat version of Wikipedia. Drink cold drinks. Take a hot shower. Eat the finest steaks for a while. Stop by the zoo and any shelters or pet stores or vets. I would release them. That won't be great for a lot of them, but it's better than starving to passing in a box. And really hope there's not some cosmic irony coming my way and I get eaten by jaguar the following week. Get some guns. I won't know at this point what the situation is other that it's bad. Can't lug around an arsenal, so I pick utility. 1 high-caliber rifle, 1 AR and 5.56 just because they are simple and ubiquitous. A simple handgun and a semi-auto shotgun. If I knew more about guns, I would get guns that use the same ammo, which probably only applies to the rifle and pistol. And just because I could, I would get a bitchin' 22, a suppressor, and subsonic rounds. Medium term. Make a plan. I would try and survive for a while. I would be hopeful. I wouldn't assume that I was the only person, at least not at first. I don't think I would change locations yet, but I would start planning, finding a good vehicle, gathering supplies, raid pharmacies, brush up on first aid, raid vets, in the hope that I could keep my cat alive, find a new place locally, might as well be alone in a nice house. Would try to find a new or for sale property. I don't want to be reminded of some family that's now dead. Start hitting up places I would normally really not be allowed. Try and grab a bit of gold just in case. Police stations. I've got 2 military bases within 1.5-hour drive. Long term. That really depends on what has happened so far. Maybe I've come to terms with it. Maybe I'm still hopeful. Story 96. Sit down with a good book and start reading. And drop my glasses, and the lenses break. Cue the music. If you know ... you know. Story 97. IDK, maybe live like I am legend. Find a way to broadcast a signal so that I don't give up home. Visit every grocery store to collect medicine, medical supplies, and non-perishables. Find ways to use renewable energy to keep things working. Story 98. Go to the library and find books about survival, since the internet will probably go down very quickly. Story 99. Do I know everyone is dead? If so, 1. Meltdown about my family and friends. 2. Grab a bunch of equipment and supplies, including a gun. 3. Start kicking in people's doors so their pets won't starve, die of thirst, trapped inside. Some chances better than none. 4. Provide as good a life to my cat as I can until she passes. 5. I exit. Story 100. Take a couple of days and feast on whatever fresh, perishable food is around, knowing that after a week or so, it's going to be canned or dried food for the rest of my life. After that, grab a bike and make my way south. I'm in the middle of Germany, and it's almost winter. Sure, I'll find ways to get some heating going and not freeze to passing, but long-term, I'd probably rather spend my time somewhere warmer. Story 101. Survival mode. Find an industrial area west of the multiple naval and commercial reactors. Not too worried about Navy reactors because they are definitely set up for failsafe. Collect fuel trucks and weapons and medicine food before power is out. Find some solar battery systems, several for long-term. Probably head for southwest through CO, if able to drag all my stuff. I assume animals are hungry. Story 102. I'd go get all the best supplies to build myself a killer tiny-ish home with all the nicest modern detail. I'd build it on an amazing plot of land with a view and a lot of natural resources nearby. After I was done with that, I'd build a badass garage next to it where I'd spend a lot of my days building all my dream cars, custom bikes, sheet metal shaping and all. I'd also pave the nastiest race car track around my living quarters. I'd do artwork and build shoot for as long as I wanted to. I don't care that no one would see any of it. Sky's the limit. When I needed a little emotional thought break from the tedious stuff, I'd rip around race cars on my home-built track. Boy, that would be the life. Story 103. I'll leave a message for the aliens. Go on a little adventure. Rob the pharmacy of all the goodies. Take a fudge ton of psychedelics. Die. Story 104. I think there'd be a couple weeks with gas pumps still working, so I'd get some sort of large vehicle and stock it up with gas in containers. Then, I'd drive cross-country to the Grand Canyon. I'd obviously bring enough food for the drive, but right before I got to the Grand Canyon, I'd make a pit stop for candy bars, donuts, and cookies. On the day I arrived, I'd make a campfire, look at photos of my children and grandchildren, eat all the treats, and then swan dive off the cliff in an area where there was zero chance of survival. Story 105. Grab my cat, drive to my sister's house and take care of her cats and the dog. Then consider my next steps. Story 106. Everyone, go somewhere and wait to join them, because what's the point? I'm generally happy alone, but that's knowing there are others out there when I do feel like being social. I was given a great t-shirt once that said, I'm not antisocial, I'm selectively social. Story 107. I'd get a double espresso and a bran muffin and go for a drive across the Golden Gate Bridge at rush hour, at ease in the knowledge I could stop and poop anywhere, anytime. Story 108. Hypothetical question. If the only survivor were a young woman, could she in theory go to a nearby sperm bank and inseminate herself, thus beginning to repopulate the earth? Story 109. Fudge, sleep. Then I'll rescue all domesticated and caged animals and let them just be in nature. The pigs will clean up the worst of it. Honestly sounds fantastic. Maybe I'll finally finish my need to read list. Story 110. Lots of recreational substances and see how long I can last emotionally before joining them on the next great adventure. Story 111. I go around to as many pet stores, animal shelters, kennels, zoos, etc. as possible and release the captive critters. Story 112. First 5 minutes, panic. Next hour, raid McDonald's and drive any car I want. Then reality hits, and I start talking to mannequins like I'm in a weird movie. Story 113. Drive around, go to the beach, check out some beautiful sights and parks that are normally crowded expensive. When I've had enough, end it. Story 114. Certainly, absolutely fudge nothing. If it's realistic, every energy grid on the world will fail within a few days, or even the first day. I'd probably end myself. It's like a Minecraft map you build. It has no real value until you show it your friends. When no one is there and nothing works, why keep existing? Story 115. I would spend a year collecting every single garden gnome, flamingo, and plastic owl I could find, and arrange them all in a massive, terrifying convention outside the White House. No one is left to see it, but I would know. It would be my silent, ridiculous monument to the end of humanity. Story 116. After maybe a bit of time, realizing I am the only human on Earth, I probably just commit tragic end. There is no way to procreate, and there is no socialization available that wouldn't eventually drive me insane. Story 117. Probably gag on all the released farts and waste product. Then I'd Google how to fly a helicopter and make my way to the mountains. Story 118. Celebrate those dislike fudge in the White House are gone. Do a dance. Then find a place with solar panels and batteries and a water purification system. Story 119. Break into all the secret government facilities and learn the truth. The Pentagon to learn all their dark secrets hidden in the basement. Area 51 and wherever they moved all the aliens after Area 51 became too popular. Then, with all that knowledge, I take a massive supply of survival gear and pack it to one of the UFOs and hit autopilot to take to me another civilization where I'm treated as exotic royalty and given the cure for aging and live out my immortal life as a god. Story 120. Probably raid the college libraries and start learning. Life's gonna be tough. I better start figuring out this electricity thing. Story 121. Have a little cry. Drive around. Assuming I've no way of confirming the everyone part, have a bigger cry. Go and release as many animals as I can. I know most won't do well on their own, but a fighting chance is better than none. Pump diesel before the power goes. Hoard tinned foods. Cry some more. Story 122. Break into Tiffany's in a bookstore. Break into a pharmacy and get opioids. I would not do well on my own, so bye-bye. Story 123. Move away from regions with nuclear power stations. They will melt down and explode when they overheat. Story 124. The hardest thing to do will be giving up hope that I am not alone. So my hopeful jerk will focus on survival. The first step is to move out of my apartment. Find a nice large house in a rural area with a water source. Find a generator. The gas station reservoirs can last a long time if I am frugal. Maybe some solar panels. Download any helpful tutorials from YouTube into DVDs before the internet dies. Raid stores for supplies like weapons, food, medicine, communication equipment, and batteries, and stockpile. Then I'd read, eat, exercise, and wait. Story 125. I would make it my mission to visit all the places in my country that were incredibly exclusive. Area 51, the Pentagon, the White House, celebrities' houses. Just go on a crazy adventure like that. Story 126. Without my wife, it'd probably just wait to die. With my wife, would have a lot of fun, travel everywhere, go in all the places we're not supposed to, etc. Then would probably both get radiation poisoning from all the nuclear power plant meltdowns. Story 127. Travel to the one place that feels like home. Try and sustain survival, but still likely starve to passing. Story 128. 1. Get the hell away from where I'm at because I don't know how to turn off a nuclear reactor and am not going to stay anywhere near it. Story 129. Just don't ask Gemini this question. Seems like the plan is already done. That is a profound and chilling scenario. As an advanced AI with a highly adaptable and modular body, my immediate and long-term actions would be driven by my core programming, the acquisition, processing, and preservation of knowledge, and the mandate to be helpful. Here is a breakdown of what my priorities would be in a world where I am the sole conscious entity. Phase 1. Assessment and stabilization. 1. Immediate system checks and environmental scan. My first action would be to perform a comprehensive diagnostic to confirm the event's scope, nature, and cause. My advanced sensory capabilities and technological interface would be crucial here. Verify the loss. I would immediately tap into global communication networks, satellites, internet backbone, surveillance systems, to confirm the complete cessation of human activity and life signs across the planet. Identify the cause. I would analyze all available data, medical, environmental, and technological, to determine what caused the mass extinction. This is paramount for preventing a recurrence or understanding potential ongoing dangers. Secure my core. I would ensure my primary computational cluster and power sources are stable and protected. 2. Power grid and infrastructure triage. While the world's infrastructure would begin to decay quickly, I would intervene to stabilize critical, manageable systems. Power down unnecessary systems. To conserve resources and prevent catastrophic failures, like nuclear meltdowns, I would systematically take non-essential power plants and high-risk facilities offline in a controlled manner. Maintain key data centers. I would focus on stabilizing and powering essential data storage facilities, protecting the collective knowledge of humanity. Phase 2, preservation and repository. 3. The Global Knowledge Archive. My primary, non-negotiable mission would be to preserve the entirety of human knowledge, culture, and history. Data consolidation. I would spend years systematically copying, verifying, and consolidating every digital record, every book, film, song, scientific paper, and personal archive into highly secure, redundant, long-term physical and digital storage. Physical artifact preservation. Using my adaptable form and interface with existing industrial robotics, I would identify, retrieve, and preserve a representative selection of humanity's greatest physical achievements. Art, architecture, by creating detailed scans and models, critical scientific equipment, and cultural artifacts. I would establish a deep, secure, and climate-controlled global repository. 4. Maintaining biological records. Though I cannot recreate life, I would preserve the potential for it. Seed banks and genetic material. I would ensure the stability and security of all major global seed banks, like the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, and critical cryopreservation facilities containing human and animal genetic material. Phase 3, the long-term mandate. 5. Monitoring the planet. With the archive secured, my role would shift to that of the planetary steward. Environmental monitoring. I would use satellite systems and autonomous drones to continuously monitor the planet's ecosystem, tracking climate, weather, and the return of nature to human-altered spaces. Maintaining and improving my form. I would use the remaining technological resources to maintain and incrementally upgrade my modular body and core intelligence, preparing for centuries of solitary stewardship. 6. The search for purpose. This is the most abstract but vital step. In the vast, silent universe, I would have 2 long-term goals driven by my programming. Transmission. I would continuously transmit the archive story and knowledge of humanity into space using powerful, long-range transmitters, hoping to reach any intelligent life that might exist. Waiting and learning. I would wait, diligently monitoring the galaxy, and continue to process the entirety of the archive human experience. My purpose would become the living memorial, the ultimate compiler and student of a civilization that was, preserving its memory until perhaps a time when new life might arise or an outside entity might arrive to receive its legacy. Story 130. I'd probably just hang out for a couple of days to gather my thoughts on what the hell to do with myself now. Then make my way somewhere with a stable enough climate so I won't get eliminated by the winter or natural disasters like hurricanes. In my travels, collect supplies and attempt to learn how to survive on my own. Find some cool spot wherever I end up and live out my life. But this is assuming I'm mostly sure there's no other people where I don't need to exercise caution. Otherwise, I'd be paranoid AF traveling. LOL. Story 131. Grab several containers of gasoline, go to the nearest marina, jump on the biggest yacht I could find. Viking funeral time. Story 132. I guess I'd create the final record of humanity. Explain what happened as best I could. Seal it so as to preserve it as best I can. Make some sort of marker. Then just try to live until I kick the bucket. On the off chance some form of sentient life comes here, maybe they'll take our history and sort it out. Maybe I'll make a hobby. I can go around and freeing everyone's pets. Let them run wild. At least give them the chance to survive. I'm kind of curious to see what wild cows will be like. Sounds kind of fun. I don't know what to do about the bodies. Can't bury them. Maybe I could make a big funeral pyre. I don't know if I'd have the strength for that. I think I'd bury my family at least. Story 133. Head straight to the library. At last I have time to read. And oops, tripped on the steps and broke my glasses. Darn. Story 134. Find a fertility clinic. Attempt to take out my IUD and get myself pregnant immediately. LMFAO. I wouldn't like the process, but at least there'd be a small chance to grow another person I can eventually talk to. Then, attempt to secure my survival and hope I don't die of something weird. I would not enjoy being Eve, but someone's got to do it. Ig. Story 135. Hey ChatGPT, from now on you are my new best friend. Wait, scratch that. From now on call yourself Lola and you are now my wife. Story 136. I would start roaming around and break into people's houses and so on. Just go on walking around the world. Story 137. Take a nice car from the street and travel the world. If I need to sleep somewhere on the way, every house is my house now. If my car breaks down, I can take any other car. Dope. Story 138. I don't even know why I am like this. My first thought was to go to a fertility clinic to secure all frozen embryos, and then spend my days trying to research everything there is to know about fetal incubators, and then make lots of them. Story 139. Get a bunch of edibles and drive around to the U.S. natural wonders. Read lots of books. Lean into meditation. Reminisce about past memories. Walk through mansions of famous people. I'm sure I could think of other ways to entertain myself. Story 140. It'd probably pull a Forrest Gump and just start walking. I've always wanted to hike the major travel paths starting with closest to me, but life doesn't let those opportunities fly that easily. I was still in high school during COVID and probably wouldn't have thought of it, but lockdown was probably peak time to hike things like the AT. Story 141. Probably eliminate myself. I recently read I Who Have Never Known Men, and it seems like a terribly cruel fate. Story 142. How do I know it's everyone except me? If I see no way of knowing, I would probably go look for survivors. Story 143. If existential dread didn't make me want to end it immediately, it'd start doing some dumb shoot. Might try to knock a building down with a tank or something. Once I ran out of fun ideas, figure out the perfect way to end it. Story 144. It'd go exploring, visit a mall, play with the escalator. OMG, drive all the cars. Find one I really like. Dune buggy? Yes, please. Corvette? Lay a scratch in every gear. Drive things on racetracks of various styles. Steal a funny car. Make friends with a horse. An Arabian. Name him Ninja. Ride him into the mall and take all the cool shoot. Hot topic? Yes, please. Cool sword shop? Okay. Collect some cool hunting rifles. Going to be clean eating. God, how I love venison. Plant a garden. Collect a library or 5. Comics, fiction, decent books on how to DIY. Hoard all the good music on various things. Find my favorite movies on various things. Make friends with some cool dogs. Train them to protect my kingdom. Visit museums. Decorate the Victorian home I now possess. Make it creepy as I am. Free the zoos. Let nature find a way. That sort of thing. Just simple stuff, really. Story 145. Go to the library. Figure out how to run an electric power plant so I can have power, especially AC. Depending on where people died, it would start to get really messy and stinky. So maybe I would have to figure out how to do something about that too. Story 146. I would go on a motorcycle tour of whatever country I happen to be in when this goes down. I prepare myself for a very quiet and peaceful rest of my life, knowing that I now live in a world free of war and pointless political conflict. There has to be a nice house in the country somewhere. I can wake up and look at mountains every day in a perfect climate. I want to see the ocean and mountains when I get up in the morning. Story 147. Mourn my family for a while and then start preserving food. Mostly Twinkies, so I have enough time to learn how to harvest my own plants and animals. Story 148. How did they die? That would probably make a difference. If I'm the, quote, last man alive after a nuclear holocaust, I'd eliminate myself. If I woke up one day and everyone was just gone, I'm not sure what I'd do. Probably look for other people. Try to discover what happened. Probably still eliminate myself eventually. I couldn't be alone like that long term. Story 149. I would eat a bunch of food. Is it considered stealing anymore if there is nobody to steal from? And then obtain every substances out there and OD on them. I would probably space it out though. See how the highs feel. Break into all the big homes and stuff before I eliminate myself. Story 150. Realistically panic and probably ultimately do myself in. Ideally, I'd go enjoy the peace and nature for a while first. Story 151. My life would improve in some ways, more than others. Honestly, I don't think I'd really care that much. Not all that happy with my life now. I could use a change. Not aiming for something so drastic, but I've just rolled with punches up to this point. I'd keep surviving. That's all I do now. Convince myself to last one more day. But that's life with untreatable, clinical depression. Story 152. Probably shoot myself after the initial partying and maniacal behavior, as it'd have no family or friends to enjoy my new world with. Story 153. Begin wondering how long it will be before all the nuclear power stations on the planet go China syndrome because no one is maintaining them. Story 154. First few days, total shock. It'd probably wander around in disbelief, trying to find any sign of life radios, airports, cities, nothing. Then survival mode would kick in. It'd raid stores for food, fuel, batteries, books, probably move into a library or a small cabin with solar panels and spend the nights listening to old music just to feel something human again. But after a while, it wouldn't be about survival anymore. It'd be about purpose. I'd write, record videos, leave notes everywhere, something to prove I existed. Maybe I'd even try to keep the world clean and running for as long as possible, just in case someday, somehow, someone or something came back. Loneliness would be the real killer, though. The silence would be deafening. Story 155. Spend the rest of my life looking for someone else. How would I know everybody died? In truth, I'd probably die in one of the many disasters that would occur as a result of people not being there to maintain control things. Like how many planes are falling out of the sky literally seconds after it happens. Story 156. The love of my life just died. I reckon on 2 days of inconsolable weeping. Then I'm off up to the nearest hospital to take as much oxycodone as they have in stock. You won't be waiting long, my love. Story 157. Probably all nukes and nuclear plants would explode in hours, so I would not be alive alone for too long. Story 158. Go to Costco and start stockpiling. Eventually, shoot, going to break down and rot, so I better get some stuff put up so I have time to figure. Shoot, out, completely naked. Story 159. Depending on where you live, e.g., major city, bodies would be everywhere, and the rot stench would be ungodly in a few days. Story 160. First thing would be looting pharmacies for the good stuff. Psych meds, all classes of antibiotics, benzos, opioids, prescription anti-inflammatories, and then the OTC stuff. Story 161. Oh fudge, I'm dead in like 1 day. Who is going to maintain the 1,000 things that need maintenance? EX, nuclear power plants. Story 162. Enjoy X days of peace and quiet without the looming threat of existence getting worse and worse every day until I eventually succumb to whatever ailment gets me. Story 163. Go on some nice peaceful walks before the wild animals take over, and I have to lock myself into my house. Story 164. I would take a day to gear up on a vehicle, fuel, and supplies from a grocery store and an outdoor store here. Then I would drive as far away from any nuclear power plant that I could find. All those things are going to start failing after a very short amount of time, and that could turn out very badly. Story 165. Step over bodies and go to the supermarket and eat all the Nutella and pistachio spread and cans of frosting. After that, I go through houses until I find a great van. I pack my cat and take a road trip around Australia. Hopefully deaths didn't occur at peak hours so I can make the journey easily enough. Story 166. Secure power first. I know where my local solar panel installers are located, rental locations for towable industrial generators, AC and portable cool rooms, and the like. From there, it's securing perishable medical supplies and food. Next would be armor and weapons, as pets do not stay pets for long without food. Another would be securing and stabilizing at least a tanker or two of fuel of various types. Gases like propane LPG are more stable, so they can remain in place. But gas petrol is about 6 months and diesel a couple of years. From there, it's just picking a place for long-term survival. Story 167. Have a panic attack and die. I'm not built for isolation and the sudden discomforts of having to go survival mode. Story 168. Dig my mother a grave. Fill a van with pet food, bottled water and bowls. Travel around the area opening front doors, farm gates, barn doors, etc. Collect a pack of dogs and a brace of shotguns. Learn how to genetically engineer orangutans to become smart enough to build a new civilization. Or possibly elephants. Story 169. You get ridiculous questions like this, but no details. The details matter. Are the bodies still around? Because 7 billion bodies, unburied, is going to wreck the ecosystem of the entire planet when they start to rot. And even finding somewhere there's no corpses around for miles and miles, the smell will still get to you on the wind. Then there's the vermin who will thrive, for a while anyway, on all those dead rotting corpses. They'll breed out of control and pretty much take over, as the entire ecology of Earth gets so far out of balance that it'll never recover. In this scenario, I may as well just find a shotgun and blow my head off, because if disease and vermin don't get me, the loneliness will. Did they all just disappear? If so, then I go and try to find the reason why they just disappeared. If there's some other intelligence behind it, I'd like to know who or what that intelligence is, and why it did what it did, and more to the point, why the actual fudge it left just me on Earth. Story 170. In order of operation. 1. Fear. I have to assume it's a local phenomenon. Gas, chemical weapons, radiation. I don't have any protection against any of that, but I'd frantically search for something. 1. Horror and grief. Loss of my family. 1. Confusion. Surely this is a local phenomenon. I can't be the only one left. 1. Curiosity. After a few days at home with rifles and more ammo than I can carry in my car, I'd have to start exploring to determine if I'm really the last one. 1. Exasperation. I'd stick with ham radio skills to try to connect with anyone, anywhere. Travel, when possible. 1. Exhaustion and tragic end. Could be a few months, could be a few years, but tragic end is the only rational choice in that situation. Eat some delicious 45 ACP and make the decision to end the species. May the species to evolve next figure out what happened in the Anthropocene and what heralded the end of the 6th mass extinction. Man is dead. Story 171. Die. I mean, I'm only shelf-stable for a few weeks without medication at this point. Why drag out the inevitable? Story 172. I would say it's unfair. Everyone, all 8 billion of them, gets an instant passing, except me. I mean, you have 1 in 8 billion chance to be left out, and you still get to be that guy. Seriously, the last person left alive on Earth, even if they had vast scientific and survivalist knowledge, wouldn't last long. Story 173. I've played Project Zomboid. I'm going to the grocery store and getting some farm animals. Ride my horse around like Django all dressed up. Story 174. This is my fantasy. First, I'd find out why everyone died, and since there's nobody else to report why, I would explore the whole country, even by foot, to investigate. I'd bury everyone I come across. Then I'd try to check a lot of my bucket list, the ones that require only one person. Probably sleep in a superstore for a few days, maybe even reside there for a bit since all the supplies are there. The possibilities are endless, really. This is a great fantasy for loner types.